Imagine walking strong in your faith, growing deeper in God's Word, feeling closer to Him than ever. Then, one day, an old friend invites you out. They don't share your beliefs. In fact, their lifestyle is the opposite of what God calls you to. But they're a good person, right? You've known them for years. Should you cut them off? Should you keep them close? This is a question every Christian faces at some point. We live in a world where our co-workers, classmates, and even family members may not believe in Jesus. Some of our closest friendships may be with people who don't share our faith, people we genuinely care about. But what does the Bible actually say? Should Christians be friends with non-believers, or does this put our faith at risk? The answer isn't as simple as you think. And by the end of this video, you'll understand God's perspective on friendships, influence, and spiritual boundaries. And the last point? It's the one most Christians ignore, but it's the most important. Stay with me, because this truth could change the way you view every relationship in your life. 1. Friendships, a biblical perspective. 2 Corinthians 6:14 says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?" At first glance, this verse seems pretty clear. Believers and unbelievers don't mix. But is that really what Paul was saying? A yoke was a wooden harness that linked two oxen together to plow a field. If one ox was stronger, the weaker one would slow them both down, or worse, they'd go in opposite directions. Paul was warning us about deep partnerships that pull us away from God. But does this mean we should cut off all non-believers? Absolutely not. Look at Jesus. He spent time with tax collectors, sinners, and outcasts. He ate with them, talked with them, and loved them. But here's the key. He influenced them. They didn't influence him. So here's the real question. In your friendships with non-believers, are you leading or are they leading? Are you pulling them toward Christ or are they pulling you toward compromise? 2. When friendship becomes a spiritual danger, Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Not every friendship is safe for your faith. Some relationships don't just challenge your beliefs, they erode them. Have you ever noticed how the people you spend time with influence your thoughts, habits, and decisions? If you hang out with people who gossip, you'll find yourself gossiping more. If you surround yourself with people who don't honor God, your convictions start to fade. Think about Solomon. He was the wisest man on earth, yet his downfall came because he surrounded himself with the wrong people. He married foreign women who worshipped false gods, and over time his heart turned away from the Lord. 1 Kings 11:4. Ask yourself this. Is this friendship sharpening my faith or dulling it? Is it drawing me closer to Christ or further into the world? Have you ever had a friendship that weakened your faith? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your story. And if this video is speaking to you, don't forget to subscribe for more biblical wisdom. 3. Loving without losing yourself. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Jesus calls us to be lights in a dark world, but a light that blends with darkness isn't a light at all. There's a difference between ministry and friendship. Jesus ministered to sinners, but his inner circle, his disciples, were believers. He chose who influenced him carefully. If you're close to non-believers, your role is to be an example of Christ. But here's the key. You can't pour from an empty cup. If a friendship is draining your faith, tempting you into sin, or making you compromise your walk with God, you need to step back. Ask yourself, am I spiritually strong enough to lead this friendship, or is it leading me away from God? 4. The hard truth, some friendships need to end. 1 Corinthians 15:33 warns us, "Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals." Some friendships aren't just neutral, they're dangerous. If a friend mocks your faith, tempts you into sin, or constantly pulls you away from God, that's not a friendship. It's a spiritual trap. The Bible warns us not to be deceived, because the enemy loves to use relationships to weaken our walk. That doesn't mean we stop loving them. It means we set boundaries. Jesus never stopped loving sinners, but he also never let them dictate his walk with God. If a friendship is damaging your faith, it's okay to walk away. Your relationship with Christ must always come first. In conclusion, the balance between love and loyalty. So should Christians be friends with non-believers? Yes, but with wisdom. Jesus was called a friend of sinners, but he never let sin define him. He calls us to love, but he also warns us not to be unequally yoked. The key is discernment. Some friendships are assignments from God, opportunities to lead someone to Christ. Others are distractions from the enemy, designed to weaken your faith. Step back and evaluate your friendships. Are you leading or are you following? Are you standing firm or are you compromising? Are your friendships glorifying God or pulling you into the world? Drop a comment below. Has a friendship ever tested your faith? Let's talk about it, and if this message spoke to you, subscribe so we can grow in faith together. God bless.